We are going to do Mexican tonight. And I told you last week, and I talked to you a little bit before right now, when you think of Mexican, you think of, first word, somebody. Hot. That's what a lot of people say. Traditional Mexican cuisine is not hot. As a matter of fact, traditional Mexican cuisine, what local people eat a lot of times, will even have kind of a bland flavor to some of it, okay? So what we're used to is Tex-Mex, where we have taken Mexican food and Texas food, and we have blended the two together, and we've made spicy food. So what I'm going to do tonight is I'm going to kind of give you a couple of versions of Mexican food. We're going to do the Tex-Mex version with one, okay, and I've already prepared it. It's in the refrigerator. I had to cool it down a little bit. And with the other one we're going to do is just our regular salsa. I'm going to start off today, though, which is a regular fresh tomato salsa. How many people buy salsa in a jar? Okay, that is a cooked salsa 99% of the time. We sell some down here in our case right below the staircase here that is a fresh salsa, and that's what we're going to make tonight. But I want to tell you something, it is so easy. Okay, if you're wanting to impress your guests that you're having over with salsa and they want to know where you bought this salsa at and you want to be able to tell them, hey, I made this myself, it's really very, very simple. And we are going to start off with it tonight. One of the things I need to grab real quick, though, is a bowl. One thing I've got to tell these young men that are coming to help out here pretty soon is be sure you have all your bowls out, not like me, because you have to do it right in the middle of the class. So, but we're going to take a glass bowl today, and we're going to use it. The main reason we're going to use glass is for two reasons. I have a metal one here too I'm going to tell you about. You're going to be using acid in this. A lot of times acid will react to metal. Okay, if you're using a metal bowl like this, a lot of times the lime juice and the acid from the peppers will react. It will not make it where you cannot eat it, but it will change the color of the vegetables or the fruit when you use it. It's reactive to the metal, okay? So we're not going to use it tonight for that, but we are going to use a glass bowl. I've already prepped everything. One thing that you can do with salsas is you can add anything to them. Anybody heard of a mango salsa? Okay, it's really good. What I would do if I was making this recipe and I was making a mango salsa is I would put mango instead of tomatoes. That's all I would do different. Is I would cut me up some mangoes, dice them up kind of fine or chunky, ever how you like it. A lot of people like pureed salsa. I don't much care for pureed salsa for the simple fact that I like the crunch. I like the texture of the salsa. I like to, when I stick it. It's not much difference. It's the ingredients you use. A chow chow and everything. A chow chow will be generally chopped up real fine anyway. But it is, I guess chow chow could be considered a Southern boy's salsa in a way. You use the different peppers, and the pepper that you use in it are different and everything too. So what we've got today is we've got our tomatoes. I've diced these up. And you can see, one of the reasons you want to make salsa ahead of time is when I cut these up, they were no juice in the bottom of this, okay? And you can see now that there's probably about a half a cup of juice in the bottom of this. And when you make it up ahead of time, and the reason we're doing this recipe first is so that it'll have time to flavors to marry and everything, but you want to give it time to develop those juices. And we're going to add a little bit of salt, and salt too is going to draw those juices out. Your recipe calls for 3 cups of chopped tomatoes. I'm actually using closer to 5 or 6 cups tonight just to show you all and to make sure that we've got enough for everybody. I'm using bell peppers. Your recipe says green bell peppers. I'm using orange and green, simply color. Everybody talks about color. You like my britches? That's why I wore those tonight, to demonstrate everything looks better in color, right? Everybody say yes. Okay. And so we're going to add these in, and it's a really, you know, when we think about salsa, you think about going out and buying a jar and everything because it's so convenient. But let me tell you, it's nothing to make salsa. We're going to add our onions, and of course there has been some prep done ahead of time. I have prepped this stuff up and everything, and we're going to put some jalapeno. Okay, these jalapenos have been seeded. The pulp or the membrane on the inside has been removed, and they have actually been soaked in a little bit of water. Okay, and what that does is if you soak them in the water, It allows the capsaicin, which is the stuff that's hot in peppers, to come out and into the water. And you'll actually see a little oil slick on top of your water when you soak them. And the more heat you want out, the longer you soak them. So we're going to add those jalapenos in. I'm going to get every piece in. And we're going to add just a hair of cumin. Okay? Cumin goes a long ways. It's like a lot of other spices that we've talked about before up here. Cumin goes a long way. So we're just going to add about a half a teaspoon. And that's all. I don't think I got a, there we go. We're just going to add about half a teaspoon of that. So if you look on your recipe, we've got it all down through here. And then we're going to add a little bit of cilantro. I'm going to steal my cilantro from down here. We're going to add our cilantro. And then we're going to add a little bit of lime juice. Limes, I love lime. There's somebody here that does not like cilantro. No, that was Sally. And you're not a big cilantro fan either. I didn't put an awful lot in there, but cilantro, I love the flavor of, especially with lime. Anybody ever eat out in Johnson City? Anybody ever been to a place called Moe's? It's a southwestern Subway, is what I call it. You go through and you order your dish. It's called like salsaritas that we have around here, okay? But you take and you go through the line and you order what you want. And I get the same thing every time. It's called a stacker. And I see how much stuff I can put on there because they have to fold it over at the end. And I want to see if I can get it so full that they cannot get it shut. But one of the things I've discovered is cilantro and lime juice here lately. And for some reason, that is one of the greatest things in the world, flavors in the world to me, is cilantro and lime juice. So I rubbed our lime across the board, and what you're doing there again is you're breaking the membranes in so the juices will come out easier. These limes have no seeds in them. If they do, there's very few in them, so you don't really have to worry about the seeds. You could use lemon juice. You could use orange juice. If I used orange juice or lemon juice, I probably would not use the cilantro. It's just for the fact that the cilantro and the lime juice, they just kind of complement each other. And I smell this lime juice and this cilantro right now, and I want to eat it right now. Because I love, that's just a great flavor to me. So we're going to squeeze it in. And I take my thumbs and I go in, or my fingers, whichever. I'm going to do my fingers so you can see. And I go in and I just push in. And I get every bit of that juice I can out. You can take them and you can turn them inside out. And you can just squeeze and squeeze and squeeze. You know, a lot of this with salsa is what you like, with the flavors that you like. And so we got all our ingredients in there together. And then we're just going to toss it. And that's your whole recipe for salsa right there. This is a basic, kind of a medium, mild to medium. It's not a hot salsa. But we're going to let this sit. We're going to let all these flavors marry together. You can chill this if you would like, okay? You can cook it leave it at room temperature. And you can actually warm it up a little bit if you like. I like it kind of at room temperature. Cold, a lot of times, will take away a lot of the flavor because you're trying to get through the cold. And with that said, I'm going to take our other out of the refrigerator and show you it. And it's been in the refrigerator for a couple of hours. I did put me a note on top of it. It simply says hot, okay? Because this has about 5 jalapenos that have not been seeded, and it has about 4 or 5 habaneros that have not been seeded. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and tell you all that so that when you eat it and you talk about how hot it is, next week, whoever's here, you can't tell them that I tried to burn you all up, okay? So I'm warning you ahead of time. But you can see here in the bottom all the juice that is formed. And this started off looking the same as this. It really did. So we're just going to mix that up. Anybody want to try this right now? No? Okay. All right. You'd try it, wouldn't you? If I had a chip up here, I'd let you try it. When Jessica gets back, we'll get her to bring a chip up here and you can try it. But, you know, it gives it flavor. A lot of people say, why do you want to heat something up so bad and it's so hot? To me, heat is flavor. I love hot food. I can't smell the heat in that. Jessica came up earlier and she smelled it and she ran out the door coughing. So apparently it smells hot to her. So we won't let you all try those 2 recipes. But that's salsa. Now you can take that and you can remove the tomatoes and you can add mangoes, you can add pineapple, you can add apples, you can add grapes, you can add any kind of fruit really that you would like to add into that. And one of the things that you want to understand is heat and sweet complement each other. Okay? So if you're using a sweet, add a little more heat to it. Okay? Yeah, it's going to have some spice to it, but it is not going to be something that's going to overwhelm you, especially with the sweet in there. This salsa right here will catch you right in the back of your throat. Okay? And I'm just telling you, when you're eating it and you put it in your mouth and you'll say, that's not so, never mind. Okay? Because it will. It'll catch you right in the back of the throat, and it's really, really good. All right. Anybody else had it made salsa before? Anybody here made salsa before? Okay. Anybody canned salsa? Okay. You can do this, and you can heat it up. You can put it in jars, and you can can it. Okay. And it cans just like anything else. You wait till your tabs pop where they went down. And I have salsa that I canned probably 3-4 years ago, and it was super hot. It was hotter than this. And I'd say after all that time marinating together, it's probably really got some good heat to it right now. So, we're going to go on to our guacamole. And on the recipe here, real quick before we go on to guacamole, though, you said you'd made it before and canned it. Is this similar to the recipe that you use?
We made it a little bit thinner.
Right. Right, and that's why I have the food processor out earlier today. Is like for the guacamole that we're getting ready to make, I've taken our onions and I basically pureed our onions because when we think of guacamole, we want something smooth, and so we're going to go ahead and do that now. Get us another bowl back here.
Did you use a special kind of tomato?
Yes, I'm glad you brought that up. You can use really any kind of tomatoes you want, but I did use Roma tomatoes in these because Romas do not have as much juice in them, okay? They're a meatier tomato. Beefsteak tomatoes, if you're growing tomatoes this year, and no wonder I couldn't get those gloves on. They were small. They are, beefsteak tomato is a beefier tomato also, so you can use those. You can use really any kind of tomato. If you like a lot of juice, use a juicier tomato, okay? Better boys or better girls, those are real popular around here that a lot of people grow. You can use those. But I did use Romas tonight because they are an easier tomato to dice when you're cooking with those. The Romas are really good to can too. A lot of people call them plum tomatoes, and they're the same thing. Yeah, I did use Romas in that. Anybody else? Jessica, would you bring me a scoop? Just one scoop. Yeah, one of the chips. We had a volunteer up here that wanted to try the salsa. And do what? Bring me two. Now we're not going to start this all the time, but I just want to see these two ladies' reactions before. I'll let them bring it up here and scoop it up. Those are really good to do. Now this is the spicy.
That's what I want.
Okay.
I got that jalapeno. I don't want all that.
Oh, come on. Get brave.
All right.
No.
You go ahead.
Now you go back and sit down and eat it. You don't have to stand up here. Is it hot? It's warm. Okay. And it is, but you see, they're not dying from it. I encourage you, if you're not allergic to heat, try it. Jessica was up here, as I said earlier, she was sweating from the smell of the peppers that were being chopped up. So we're going to